The Airsoft Plus events are invitation only, and the reason why that they're invitation only is that we only want those players that are mature enough to handle the different features that we have in Airsoft Plus. The bayonet, for example, not everyone feels comfortable using that, and of course the other bit too is that firing your gun on a 3-round burst. So not full automatic, it's a 3-round burst. That's a bit more realistic than simply taking your gun and firing it on full automatic. Even if you're using a crew served or a section served machine gun, I've seen it happen quite often in airsoft games that a guy simply sits back with it, big drum magazine, and it just fires away. When you fire those things in real life, or you're in the army, whatever, those barrels have a tendency to cook, and so the accuracy level of the barrel or of the gun itself begins to diminish. So you have to fire, even guns that are on automatic, they're fired on bursts. And the way that you fire on bursts using, for example, when I was being trained to fire the GPMG and the 50 caliber, it wasn't so much this idea of the mechanics of how your finger operated. So of course, you're trying to get this rhythm going with your finger. It's what went on inside the mind. That's really where the burst comes from. It's not so much the mechanic of the finger, on the trigger, off the trigger, or on the trigger enough to fire the burst and then you ease off. It's not like that. We were taught to use this expression, son of a bitch. You might be thinking, hey, Philip, hey, that's not politically correct. You're right, it's not politically correct. However, that's what goes on inside the mind of someone who's firing a crew-served or a section-served machine gun. There's this son of a bitch or some other expression that's used to limit how many rounds are fired in a burst. That's basically what's happening. So when I come to my M4, okay, because of course I could, if I wanted to, create a MOFSET, put the MOFSET in here, and the MOFSET allows the gun to fire on a 3-round burst. Or I have, a selection lever that puts it on a 3-round burst, and so it fires on 3-round bursts itself. So there's a built-in MOFSET or some other feature or whatever. So I have to say that that's not the point of allowing someone to fire on a 3-round burst. We expect there to be a bit of a skill level to it. That's the point. Because, of course, anyone can just get a MOFSET and away you go. However, we're more interested in the skill level that goes with the ability to fire on a 3-round burst. And so basically when you're firing a 3-round burst, you say son of a bitch or something inside your mind so that when you're saying it, there's this point when you take your finger off the trigger. And what happens when what you'll notice when you're firing the gun using a 3-round burst, that you set up a rhythm inside your mind. You notice when I'm firing at the target here that when I'm on target, I have a rhythm going. So I know it's like a song, if you like, the song of the M4. Okay, that might sound a little bit too mystic for some of you. However, it is in that way that I'm feeling there's a skill level and there's this rhythm I get into when I'm firing it. So it's da-da-da-da, and that's the rhythm I want. So when I'm firing the M4 on a rhythm, that's what I'm feeling. There's this rhythm that takes place, not only inside my mind, but also with the feeling of how the gun is firing. And I actually can hear the 3 rounds. Those 3 rounds are like the notes to that son of a bitch I'm saying in some minutes, son of a bitch, son of a bitch, son of a bitch. So I can I can do it repetitiously for as long as I like, or until of course I just change the magazine. And so you might be thinking, hey, Philip, why can't I just simply take my M4 and fire in full automatic? You know, like, well, again, if we're trying to be, I know maybe the word realistic isn't one thing you use with Airsoft. However, you want to, at least in Airsoft Plus, we're trying to get to a point where it's more realistic. And so when you're using an M4 and you simply put it on full automatic and you fire it, the barrel cooks. And the rifling inside the barrel begins to wear out. And what happens is when you're firing it full automatic, the rounds begin to be less accurate and they scatter simply everywhere. So the whole point then when you are firing on a burst like that is that the gun is far more accurate. That's what you're looking for, this accuracy in the gun, even though it's firing on a 3-round burst, that you want to be as accurate as possible. You fire on full automatic, you're going to be less accurate. 3-round burst, a lot of rounds down range, right on target, and you're far more effective in what you're doing. So that's the point of why we want the Airsoft Plus one step up from the other events, so we have a certain skill level, and of course that is the 3-round burst.
So here we have a typical target I'm going to be shooting at with my M4 using 3-round bursts. And here we have a very typical M4 magazine filled with 30 rounds. So in theory, with using 3-round bursts, I get 10 bursts, so 3 rounds in each burst. So I'm going to go give it a try. What you'll notice right away, that there won't be a grouping in the center of the target. There'll be this kind of space filled with holes from the rounds. That's because when you're firing through round bursts, the point is not to be so accurate. It's just to get the rounds on target. That's what you're trying to do. You're trying to fill the whole area with rounds, not so much looking for accuracy. So let's see how this goes. Well, I have to say that pleasantly surprised by where all the rounds went. Of course, I had a small, what we call a winger, but as you can see, most of the rounds were dead center on the target. So I have to say that I expected it to be, you know, the whole target would have been filled with rounds. So this idea of firing on a 3-round burst, you know, went much better than I expected with regard to showing it and illustrating it here. Quite a good grouping, I think, firing on 3-round bursts. So actually, I'm not really sure if camera. Let's just that quite a good grouping for using